Welcome to the Off Street podcast featuring Adam Reiner and Sean Dan. Off Street contains general information that is not suitable for everyone and contains certain forward-looking statements of future possibilities that, due to known and unknown risks and other uncertainties and factors, may differ materially from actual results. As such, there is no guarantee that any views and opinions expressed herein will come to pass. Off Street is presented for informational purposes, and nothing contained herein should be construed as a solicitation to buy or sell any security or as an offer to provide investment, tax, or legal advice. Additionally, this communication contains information derived from third-party sources. Although we believe these sources to be reliable, we make no representations as to their accuracy or completeness. Adam and Sean are employees of Marshall Financial Group, Inc., a registered investment advisor. For additional information about the firm, including its services and fees, send for the firm's disclosure brochure or visit advisorinfo.sec.gov.
All right, Sean, it is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Do you carry cash?
I carry cash. I can't remember the last time I used cash, but I carry it as just in case.
I also carry cash. The most expenses, I'd say, are paid with the credit card at this point.
Yeah, 99% for me. Like I don't even use a debit card. Like I have a debit card too, but it's like, why would I use a debit card?
Right?
I
never use the debit card.
I could just use
ever.
the credit card. All you hear about debit cards is like people getting scammed. Like you don't use your debit card. Someone has like unlimited access to your checking account.
I only use the credit card when I transact.
Why are debit cards a thing? So yeah, I carry cash. Why do you ask?
Well, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend, and it was the $100 bill is the most common currency, and it's also the most annoying.
It's the most common currency?
Common.
What do they mean by that?
There are more $100 bills in circulation.
Most circulated.
Than even dollar bills, which I found very surprising.
Wait, more $100 bills than single dollar bills?
More $100 bills than singles, 20s, 5s, 10s.
What?
Yes.
That's very very hard to believe.
It's clear as day, right there in the article.
I believe you. I'm not disputing you, but that's an interesting stat.
Yeah.
$100 bills kind of suck.
Apparently, since 2012, a lot of $100 bills have been issued.
$100 bills, though, it is annoying. I think you said that in the headline there.
The TLDR of the article is cashiers find them annoying, vendors won't accept them, or some vendors won't accept them. And my favorite quote: everyone almost questions you and your legitimacy for using a $100 bill.
Yeah, everyone does the thing. They hold it up to the light.
Oh yeah, they take out the marker.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't just use a credit card in literally every situation.
Especially if you have a credit card that earns points. If you're buying a service and it costs the same, whether you're paying cash or a credit card, and you pay off your credit card all the time, and you get points, you're just giving away money.
Yeah. So, like, theoretically, if everyone just paid their credit card balance every month, like, credit card companies wouldn't make any money, right?
I guess in theory. Or they wouldn't make as much money.
I guess that blows my mind. Yeah, so you're basically making up for the people that don't pay it every month. If you pay yours every month, you're getting free money from the people who aren't, in essence.
Essentially.
It's probably oversimplified.
Like, I have a cashback credit card.
Yeah. So just, use your credit card for anything. Yeah.
Well, according to Capital One, only 12% of in-store transactions in the U.S. are made with cash. 71% are made with credit cards, 12% with digital wallets. Then the rest are like consumer financing and prepaid cards.
Don't use cash, and then you get change. Coins are more of a burden than anything. But you know what I mean? Like, you're never going to use those coins. You're never going to go to a transaction.
Coins live in a jar.
That's what I'm saying.
Somewhere like in your house.
Yeah, just to clarify, I don't throw away money, but I'm saying they're more of a burden than like a usable piece of currency. Yes, you throw them in the coin jar, and once every 6 years, you go to Giant and dump them in the coin counter and get your little ticket.
Yes. Like, we could question how accurate the coin counter is. The county weights and measures needs to pay them a visit. See how accurate. But consumers are most likely to use cash for purchases less than $25.
Yeah. No, over 25, even under 25, I'll get a pack of gum and use my credit card. Unless they got the little things. Sometimes you go in at the pizza shop. Yeah. And it'll be like $10 minimum, something like that.
Which I don't know how true it is. I don't know if merchants are actually allowed to do that.
To put minimums?
To put minimums.
Why wouldn't that be?
I don't know. That's what I heard once upon a time.
That's against the law?
I think it's like against the... I don't know if it's against the law. I think it's against the terms of like the machine.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. I mean, if we could go to a completely coinless world, even cashless, like just rip the Band-Aid off. Coinless though. I want to start there. Just to make everything a round number.
I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. So over the past week, it certainly feels like the bull market has marched on, and there is a sentiment change underway in markets.
Yeah, maybe the most obvious sign of that this weekend, I had someone ask me point blank, are we in a bubble?
Good question. Are we in a bubble?
I can understand how from the outside it feels that way. We got Bitcoin at records. We got the S&P at all-time highs. Yesterday, an NFT sold for, I think it was $16 million.
Crazy that we're back there. Do you think that person was sitting on that NFT waiting?
Waiting to pounce? I don't know. Well, if they truly were fair value thing, you would think they bought it in the crypto winter, but they decided not to. So
yeah,
are you chasing or is it good value?
I was gonna give you my take on NFTs and art, but I don't know.
No, rip it. What's your takes?
my take is let's focus on NFTs.
Okay.
Not on art. It just feels like a platform for money laundering.
Okay.
Like there's no way to value them. So it feels like if someone wanted to do money laundering, which some people say Bitcoin is used for, illicit activity.
Definitely is.
Like it feels like an easy way to wash cash. Just take this digital art that may or may not be worth something, assign a value to it, someone buys it, and suddenly clean cash.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see what compliance thinks about that.
But yeah, I mean, when you start getting asked, are we in a bubble? There was an article from the Wall Street Journal that was titled How to Invest in a Bull Market, where they found 4 just characters off the street. I don't know where they find these people.
Yes.
2 of them said they were full-time day traders, which
article, if I went into a time machine, this could have been written in 2021.
Yeah. Or 1999. You pick the bubble. It could have been written at that time. But basically everyone just saying like, I'm taking my chances here. I'm going to buy into tech. I'm buying into ARK. I'm buying into crypto. And that's how I'm investing in the bull market, which I don't know. We've seen this story a million times. We don't have to.
So they're just buying everything that's done well.
They're buying things that are going up. And like, I think me and you would agree. How should you invest in a bull market? Probably pretty similar to how you invest in a bear market. Like you should if anything, you should probably lean against your instincts. Whatever your instincts are telling you, it's probably going to get you into trouble every once in a while.
That's part of the art of investing is you don't get bent out of shape when markets fall, and you don't get overly enthusiastic when markets rise.
No, having a calm demeanor about everything with markets is about as high alpha a strategy as you can find these days. Like now more than ever, there's more and more things pushing you to like made up stuff that wasn't even around 3 years ago, such as NFTs. Like, put your money here. Whereas, if you just stick to the tried and true, Bitcoin people are taking a victory lap right now. Okay, say it touched its record today. That means it's flat on a 2.5 year, almost 2.5 year basis.
Right. The S&P's up. Yeah.
Stocks are up about 10% over that same time frame. And in that time frame, Bitcoin was down more than 75%.
This is the thing. You have to remember the journey too. Like even just think of things on a risk-adjusted basis.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
There's a big drawdown there. I'm sure there's people that sold at the bottom.
And anyone who says that like I can hold through 75% downswings and not get nervous and not panic sell, you're a liar. Like there's just no way.
Yeah.
At least I couldn't. I can't possibly imagine that.
I don't know. This instance, there may have been people that have actually because the drawdown was so quick. It was
so
a year.
Quick, sure. And I guess if you're buying
then it started
Bitcoin,
to rally last year. It rallied pretty hard last year.
If you're buying Bitcoin as a lottery ticket, then yeah, like maybe you could hold. But like, okay, is Bitcoin going to be your strategy to invest for retirement? Like, I sure hope not.
I don't know. You can get like that whole. We could do a whole thing about like expected value and expected payoffs, like which is better, the S&P or Bitcoin.
Well, that's a good segue to that ECB article that we found where they basically ripped Bitcoin a new one.
Yeah. How was that for timing? So ECB is the European Central Bank. Do you want me to read some one-liners from this? The conclusion?
Yeah, what do you got?
All right. They say Bitcoin's price level is not an indicator of its sustainability.
Yes. Full stop right there. Just because its price is high does not mean it's like useful.
Yes.
Beanie Babies were selling for hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars, right? At one time. Dutch tulips.
Dutch tulips is a great example. They say there is no economic fundamental data. There is no fair value from which serious forecasts can be derived.
Yes, doesn't give off dividends, doesn't have earnings appreciation. You can't use it in productive capacity. No social benefit.
There is no proof of price in a speculative bubble. Instead, a reflation of the speculative bubble shows the effectiveness of the Bitcoin lobby. I think here they're talking about ETFs getting approved in the US.
Yep.
They say the market cap quantifies the overall social damage that will occur when the house of cards collapses.
That's an awesome one-liner.
That's a great way to end it.
They definitely wrote that, and like everyone looked at each other like, hell yeah.
That
one's gonna hit.
Remember when I sent it to you? You're like, oh, that's a great line.
That's a mic drop moment for them. But I mean, it's all true.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they're not wrong.
If you're a traditional finance person, if you've had any sort of like financial education, everything about Bitcoin screams like there's nothing there. There's no obvious value behind it. They talk in that article, furthermore, that money laundering seems to be one of its quote unquote best use cases right now. Like, it's not being used for productive things. No one is transacting in Bitcoin. No one seriously thinks it's going to replace the dollar at this moment. It swings more than stocks. How is it going to replace a currency? Like, it gets exhausting. And we still talk about it every time.
I mean, it pops so
like this.
News driven, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's like, it is the living definition of a speculative asset. Like, when you want to talk about a spec asset, Bitcoin is it. Like, you just look it up in the dictionary.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's important to point out too, it's rallying at the same time stocks are rallying. So what's driving what? Is there any relationship there? Comes at the same time that tech stocks are popping, comes at the same time that AI is popping. So it's not just Bitcoin. It's not like Bitcoin is leading the way for all these other things.
Oh yeah, just even take a step back, right? Like, it did really well coming out of COVID when it was risk on. In 22, when the bubble deflated, it fell just like tech. Like, a lot of tech names were down really big in 22. And then 23 happened and everything rallied. It was risk back on. Tech did really well. The spec names did well. Bitcoin did well.
Which, like, do people really believe in it? Or is it, hey, times are good, my portfolio's up. Maybe I'll put a couple percent in Bitcoin just as like, what the hell?
I would say the average person that buys crypto is not buying it because they believe in the utility.
No,
they are buying it because they are speculating that they are going to make money on it. It's a form of a lottery ticket.
Bitcoin experts come on. I say that in quotes. They come on Bloomberg. I don't believe them. Half of them when they say they believe in the utility. It's like, do you actually believe in the utility, or is this a quick way that you can like roll out some product that capitalizes on the Bitcoin craze right now?
Yeah. So you brought me down this road a little bit. So I'm just going to walk through the door. There is a use case for utility, but it doesn't involve crypto.
Okay.
Like, the Brazilian central bank did create a digital currency it's a fiat currency. It's backed by the Central Bank of Brazil. It's called PIX, P-I-X, and it's an instant payment platform. It's used by a majority of Brazilian adults at this point, like 80% of the population, and it has near instantaneous clearing transaction or settlement clearing, and it's much cheaper than traditional banking. Like, I think for merchants it's 33 basis points compared to credit cards, which are like 2.5%. WhatsApp, that's almost 4%.
But is that crypto, or is that like more blockchain? Is that more
I
blockchain
don't think
technology?
It's either. It's just a digital currency.
Well, I know, but it feels closer to the promises of blockchain, right? Like what blockchain is supposed to be.
I guess you still need a bank account to use it, and commercial banks in Brazil have to participate in the program.
Okay. That feels like a miles leap from Bitcoin, though, right? Like, that seems like a more palatable and plausible use case in an economy like the U.S. than, okay, everyone get on the Bitcoin train.
So that I guess that's the use case of utility, but the cryptos that are trading, that's just people speculating that price is going to go up.
Yeah. And so I guess to zoom back out to the whole discussion of like, are we in a bubble? Are we not in a bubble? Cryptos and stocks, I think, are two vastly different things. Crypto, I mean, who the hell knows? I think we think, a lot of bubble traits there. No idea if it's going to hit 100,000.
People will probably listen to this and be like, oh, well, they're crypto bears, which I just feel like we're kind of realist.
Just think
in,
it's
like, that
stupid.
sense. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't call it being a bear. I just think it's stupid. But
I'll
like
call that a realist.
stocks, on the other hand, I'd say a lot less bubbly traits there. Yes, PEs are a little extended. They're not crazy. On most of the major tech stocks, yes, they've rallied a lot, but thankfully earnings have gone with it to at least some extent.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that in Nvidia, right? Its price to sales peaked around 30. It's come back down to 20. So its earnings have grown. Its stock price has gone up.
Only price to sales at 20.
Yeah, only it's very
still,
high.
Still a lot of good news priced in, but at the same time, you got to remember with tech stocks, there's pretty much always a lot of good news priced in with those. Like just by nature, if you're a high flying tech stock, there's a lot of growth that's always going to be priced in. There's times in the past where like you can look at all the rest of the Mag 7 where it's like, are we sure we're going to hit these numbers? And some do, some don't, but pretty much they're always going to look expensive to some extent.
Yeah, I saw someone trying to pitch the Fab 4 today instead of the Mag 7.
Okay, I think Fab 5 is a much easier layup.
Yeah.
Although that may be trademarked actually. Maybe that's why they went with the Fab 4.
That could be, but I don't know. It feels like right now the market's at that point where risk sentiment is on. We see that through the surveys. Bullishness is high. That CNN business fear greed index is heavily tilted towards greed right now. Maybe we're at that point in the market where either things just run away or we start to see some vol come in. Then usually when things get extended, that's what happens.
Yeah, which I don't think so. I honestly wouldn't mind it, right? Like I wouldn't mind chopping sideways. I wouldn't even really mind a little bit of a correction at this point.
Yeah.
Like
which is normal.
It's normal, and we're not going to get, we're on track for a crazy market year. We're not just going to keep going up and to the right every month. Going.
Yeah, feels important to remember that bull markets like we're in, they're always a bit controversial. Yeah, there's always some hot sector that's driving gains. There's a set of market commentators that will tell you about why markets are going to continue to go up forever. Then there's another set of commentators that like to point out all the risks out there. But I think, like you had said earlier, like whether markets are going up a lot or down a lot, for an investor, there's really not a lot that should change.
If you've got a savings or investment plan, stick to the plan. If you're adding to your 401k each month, keep doing. Like there's no reason to have to make a tactical change.
Yes.
And just over the long run, outcomes aren't based on a month-to-month basis. It's decades. So just trust the process and stick to it.
Yes, you don't want to be one of those people from the How to Invest in a Bull Market article where you're just constantly chasing market
Absolutely
returns. Not. Food inflation.
Yes.
A lot of food stories over the past week.
A lot of really good food stories. We're entering the food section of this week's podcast. I think we've got 3 or 4 food stories.
So food inflation peaked in 22. It's fallen back down to close to more average levels since then. The kicker is they haven't really declined. The rate of change has just slowed.
No, yes, people are finding out the definition of inflation.
Well, the CEO of Kellogg's has a solution. During an appearance on CNBC, he suggested that consumers upset about food prices should eat more cereal for dinner.
Yeah, just brutal.
While making the case, he said it is quite affordable and that the cereal category is a place that a lot of folks might come to because the price of a bowl of cereal with milk and with fruit is less than $1. So you can imagine why a consumer under pressure might find that to be a good place to go. When the host of the show, Carl Quintanilla, asked if he was worried about his message potentially landing the wrong way, the CEO of Kellogg said, "We don't think so. In fact, it's landing really well right now."
Yeah, just a guy who has completely lost the plot. This is so full-blown, like, hardcore CEO that probably cut his teeth. Goldman investment banking just is like a winner, right? Like the dude all he cares about is the bottom line, and he's like, good people are poor and struggling right now. It means they're eating more cereal.
There's always an opportunity
like,
somewhere.
Yeah, just all-time bad take. Obviously, cereal, not a great dinner option. Doesn't give you all the nutritional value that, Frosted Flakes is not the same as chicken breast, right?
I have a feeling most Americans, no matter where they fall on the demographic spectrum, wouldn't be thrilled after a hard day's work to sit down to a nice cold bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
I feel like you always aspire to do somewhat better than that.
Let me get some soggy frosted flakes. And this guy's like, hey, helps our bottom line.
Yeah.
He basically went on and said, it just so happens to benefit us when people are struggling. So shrug.
What do you think he eats for dinner? I bet it's not a bowl
No,
of Kellogg's.
absolutely not. I looked it up. It looks like he made about $4 million last year. The kicker was, too, this is on CNBC, it looks like he's taking an interview in front of like a mansion.
No.
Like you can see, a mansion or a big resort over his shoulder. So, yeah,
Tough messaging there.
when these CNBC or Bloomberg reporters take a beat to be like, are you sure about that? When they're usually pretty down the middle and objective, you should probably check yourself and say, maybe I overstepped.
I wonder what the PR team is thinking as he's giving this interview. Like, oh no.
They're back in the truck like, damn it. Like, that's a press release.
Yeah. We're going to have some damage control there.
For celebrating the bad deals out there that pushes customers to you. Maybe shout out Applebee's.
Yes, I was going to say.
For bringing the good deals to Americans.
A slightly different approach of trying to do it right.
The Applebee's CEO told investors last week the Dollarita cocktail drove traffic in the fourth quarter.
Yes, which is Applebee's $1 margarita.
Yes, the Applebee's Dollarita. They said it was successful in attracting a younger crowd, and they found that more than 90% of guests who ordered a Dollarita also added another item to their orders, so it drove higher volumes, higher revenue in the fourth quarter.
I mean, it makes sense.
Good for Applebee's.
Isn't that like the definition of a loss leader?
Well, that's the thing I wanted to ask you is like usually at restaurants, I feel like the loss leader is more likely to be the food. Like the margins on alcoholic drinks, especially at bars, are so huge compared to the food. That's why usually you can get a cheap burger, but maybe you get a $7 craft beer.
Yeah.
So it's weird to see that flip.
I mean, I have a feeling they probably still made money on the Dollarita. I don't think they were using top shelf tequila.
Oh, I can't imagine. I only can imagine what kind of tequila.
Did you like Googled what it looks like?
I did, and they said it's tequila, triple sec, and lime.
Yeah.
So pretty standard margarita, but I mean, you're using two different types of alcohols. Tequila, you can get cheap tequila. So yeah, I mean, maybe they're breaking even. Maybe it's not a loss leader, but it's just interesting to see that.
You're not just gonna like walk into an Applebee's, sit down at the bar, and order $1 margarita.
Oh, maybe you order 6 and then you don't get any food. Like so they said that was a problem. They said people coming in, a lot higher chance of the threat of being overserved.
I guess
with a $1 margarita.
Could you imagine just holding court at your neighborhood Applebee's? They're overindulging in margaritas.
Yeah, another article did talk about bartenders getting annoyed making all the Dollaritas back in the day, but interesting.
What do you tip on $1? Like if it's that you are just going strictly for the $1 margaritas and you have 5.
I think you got to tip on what the price normally is. Like if I'm at a place for happy hour.
Yeah.
Like I'll look at what the normal price is and I'll tip 20% on the normal price, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. You got to tip a lot more than $1.
I have a feeling that's probably why the bar staff was frustrated.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you're going out of your way just to order the $1 margaritas, you're probably not tipping heavy.
Yeah. Probably not. Maybe not. But interesting promotion, but it is sad, Adam.
Yeah.
Other dollar-priced food and drink items. We said goodbye to a legendary one last week.
Oh, this was a national news story. A local story, but national news.
The Philadelphia Phillies announced the end of the Dollar Dog Night, at least for 2024.
I am pro getting rid of the Dollar Dog Night.
I think for different reasons than the Phillies, but go ahead.
The Phillies have reached a place for their franchise where they no longer need to draw fans in with the $1 hot dog.
Yes.
Like they have Bryce Harper. They signed a lot of other free agents. They were in the World Series. They were in the NLCS. Like they don't need gimmick promotions anymore. They've reached the pinnacle.
Or because it was drunk fans were throwing dozens of hot dogs at each other during these dollar dog games.
Yes. So some would say they were celebrating the on-field product and they just so happened to have hot dogs to toss in the air.
If this was it for Dollar Dog Nights, I was at the last dollar dog night of 2023.
I remember you coming back into the office and showing me some videos that you took. But...
Can't confirm it was a war zone. And I guess, again, workers not liking these promotions, it sounds like the workers at Citizens Bank Park hated dollar dog night. It was just I can imagine too. But
I mean, I felt like every time there was a dollar dog night, something weird would happen.
Yeah, always. But just getting back to it.
But isn't it crazy that it took fans throwing hot dogs to get dollar dog night suspended, not the Philly fanatic shooting a woman in the face with a hot dog cannon and having like a lawsuit against them? That was fine, but it was the fans tossing them in the air.
Hey,
which makes me think maybe it's because they're a good team now.
Okay, all right. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Adam. What else we got here with food?
We have Wendy's.
Whoa, yeah, another snafu.
This was a bad one, yeah. So we've gone bad, good, bad again. During their February earnings call, Wendy's CEO said the chain would begin testing more enhanced features like dynamic pricing. Sidebar: hate dynamic pricing.
Yes, for those who are unfamiliar,
think of it as surge pricing.
Exactly, Uber. Like if you ever used Uber, the fact that the same ride is going to cost different pretty much anytime you call it.
Yeah. If you're going to buy a plane ticket, popular flights are more expensive.
Based on demand, based on where you want to sit, exactly.
So they were going to roll out an AI-enabled digital menu board. Of course they were. They had to work AI into it somehow.
Wendy's, the bastion of next-gen tech.
Yes. So it caused some people to joke on social media that they were going to do Wendy's arbitrage. Go during non-peak hours, buy the food, and wait around to sell it during peak hours, price somewhere in between.
Yes.
Others said it was price gouging, which is probably fair.
Yes.
To criticize that.
It's very similar to Kellogg's. It's classic like CEO brain. Like you get so into the weeds of the numbers and like how can we push the boundaries that you forget like, hey, maybe this is a stupid idea and maybe like customers will get really offended or pissed off if we actually try and enact this.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
They decided not to enact it. They issued a statement to say their original statement was misconstrued.
Yes.
Quote unquote. And they wouldn't be raising prices during the busiest times. The new digital menus would just allow them to change items during the day and offer discounts during slower times.
Yeah.
Feels like damage control.
And they said, we didn't use that phrase in reference to surge pricing. So I guess maybe we'll never know what could have come of the Wendy's dynamic pricing, but very funny. Again, I think the power of Reddit. I think it was Reddit and other social medias where he said it on the earnings call and it kind of like rolled off people's shoulders, and it wasn't until like a social media firestorm a little bit down the line where people were like, maybe we didn't think this through.
Sometimes for big companies like this, a good public shaming saves them from themselves.
Yes.
But how disastrous would that have been if they enacted surge pricing? Like, I imagine they're busy 2, maybe 3 times during the day, during the lunch rush and probably around dinner time.
Yeah. And there's already like, I don't know. There's certain areas where it's like if food prices are higher, I can kind of stomach it. We talked about your scallops last year.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to a nice restaurant and you're really enjoying a nice meal, okay. If they had to raise the price a little bit, so be it. But I think there's like around fast food, I feel like that's a place where people have their marker and it's like, I'm not paying $10 for a Big Mac. Yeah. I'm not paying $11 for a Baconator. Like it feels like there's a definite ceiling there where you're not pushing the boundaries and people are going to revolt at that price point. Oh yeah.
Where do you go? You're probably 1, going for convenience. Yes. And 2, you're not expecting to pay like sit down restaurant prices. That's what you did. I'm glad they didn't do that. Last food story, Sean. Restaurants may not want your big group.
Yes. As a former restaurant employee, I'm here for it.
I agree. Also, as a former restaurant employee.
This article from the Wall Street Journal talks about how many restaurants, especially nicer restaurants, are starting to put a limit on the number of people that you can have in your reservation. A lot of them are capping it at 6 people. They won't let you make a reservation for more than 6. And they say large tables of 6 or more people often are louder. They suck up a lot more staff time. They reduce the ability to turn over tables and overall hurt profit potential.
Yeah, so basically you can't turn over tables quickly.
Very interesting. No, not only that, like in high school, I worked in a restaurant, and it was such like a morale suck. When like you're having a good day, like people are flying around, a lot of 2 tops and 4 tops, and then an unannounced party of 12 comes in, and kind of everything stops. And you got to push the tables together. Like everything gets rearranged.
Yeah.
It takes forever for them to come to an agreement on like what everyone's ordering. And then I don't know if you had this experience. A lot of times too, the tips weren't as good.
I was gonna say it's a disaster when they leave.
It's a disaster, yeah, to clean up. And then you look at the bill, and it's like, you know, if it's a 10 top and they have a $500 bill, I think usually people would rationalize that to be like, oh, I spent so much on food, I don't need a tip that much.
Yeah.
Well, like that doesn't help the wait staff and busters when
Does
you leave
not.
like a $50 tip on a $500 tab.
You know, especially when that's the majority of their income comes from tips.
Yeah. So overall, large tables, maybe converse to what people might think at the surface level, they hurt restaurants a lot. And so it's interesting to see some like legitimate pushback nationwide.
Oh yeah, it seemed like big pushback. Maybe there's like one large table per hour per seating that they would do.
They said some of them said that if you want a large table, they're gonna have you sit in the 5 o'clock hour or the 8 o'clock hour. Keep those prime times for smaller tables, more profitable tables.
That for people that had problems with that policy of limiting large groups, he said invite people to your apartment and make dinner.
Yes, not sugarcoating it. Not sugarcoating
Which
it.
kind of defeats the purpose of trying to go out to a restaurant. But should we switch to uncorrelated?
Let's do it.
Let's start with a disability case.
Yeah, this story rocks. This
It's
is
one of
another good
those where
one.
you just shake your head. So a mom lost a $800,000 disability case after photos emerged of her winning a tree throwing competition. Yes, a tree throwing competition.
Exactly how it sounds. Exactly how it sounds.
This was a woman from Ireland who had filed an injury lawsuit after she claimed she was injured in a 2017 car accident and it had prevented her from holding down work. Though newspapers captured her competing in an annual Christmas tree throwing competition where competitors would toss a 5-foot spruce tree as far as they could. It looked almost like shot put, but with a Christmas tree.
You can't write comedy like it, Adam. You couldn't write this into a TV show because it's so ridiculous. There's pictures of her mid-throw with this big tree, and then there's pictures of her holding the plaque. She won.
Yeah,
she won the competition.
I mean, the picture of the tree throw, it was a solid toss.
Impressive, very impressive. But there is a picture of her holding her plaque for winning. This was given to the judge. Judge dismissed the case.
Yeah,
She had said
easy.
her debilitating neck and back pain prevented her from all sorts of her daily life. Meanwhile, she's throwing trees.
Yes. And she said she was just trying to live a little, enjoy life.
That was the best part. Is like, why did you do this? Oh, you know, I was just trying to live my normal life. Do you think it was worth it, Adam? Do you think $800,000 was worth the glory and the fame of the annual Christmas tree throwing contest 2018?
Probably not. She probably should have sat that one out.
Yes.
So we needed an economic tie-in here, Sean.
I don't know if we... Okay, all right. I don't know if we did. I think that was good enough alone.
Do you? Well, I went to the Bureau of Labor Statistics website and dug up some disability stats about the labor force for you.
Great.
I know you've been looking forward to it. Those 65 and older make up more than half of the labor force of disabled workers, which I thought was an interesting stat.
Okay.
The unemployment rate amongst those persons with a disability is about 7.6%, so a little more than double the national unemployment rate. And people with a disability were more likely to work in service occupations than those with no disability. And those professions tended to be production, transportation, and material moving occupations, which don't sound like good professions at all if you have a disability.
No, depending on the type of disability, that sounds tough.
So that's it. I have a lot of other ones highlighted. I won't force you
Not
to
sure
sit
if
here
they
and
would have
listen
made
to
the final cut.
Oh. I think it's interesting. We're just trying to educate our listeners here, Sean. So this next one has a tie into last week's episode where we talked about the Big Mac Index and purchasing power parity.
Yes.
So that's my tie-in for you here. There is a man in the United States who has eaten a record 34,000 Big Macs.
Over his life.
Over his life,
Yes.
yes. Not in a year.
Yes.
Just to be clear. So, what's his name? Don Gorski Started eating Big Macs in 1972.
Well, you can be more specific than that. He said he had his first Big Mac on May 17th, 1972, and said, quote, "I'm going to probably eat these for the rest of my life." And immediately in that moment decided to track the number of Big Macs he ate for the rest of his life.
There are a lot of red flags in this article, Sean. He has kept a receipt of every single Big Mac that he's eaten since day one. And he's retained each Big Mac container. Each Big Mac container. Like, what are we doing here?
No. So here's the thing.
He said his mother grew worried after she saw his fascination with Big Macs.
Well, yes, and his mother also made him eat at least one non-Big Mac meal per day until 1981. In 1981, she removed the rule. He was allowed to only eat Big Macs. But yes, at his peak, he was eating 9 Big Macs a day, which today's Big Macs are 563 calories per, so that's over 5,000 calories per day from Big Macs. He proposed to his wife in a McDonald's parking lot.
Because of course he did.
And his picture is on the wall at his local McDonald's. But he said that he has cut down his intake to now he only eats about 2 per day. And he walks 6 miles a day to try and counteract the...
And he doesn't eat the fries.
He doesn't eat the fries anymore. So I honestly respect if someone commits to a bit this hard, like I go from this is ridiculous to this is awesome. I honestly respect him so much. You don't eat 34,000 Big Macs as a gimmick. He genuinely is committed to this game.
Yeah.
And I think you got to respect it at that point.
It's funny. When you showed me this article...
He looks also exactly like you think he'd look.
I immediately recognized him. I knew who he was. I had seen him before. He was in the documentary Super Size Me, where he talked about his Big Mac addiction.
It's just one of those dudes rock moment. Like,
just think of like the quality change that he's seen in the Big Mac over his time,
I can only imagine.
It's gone from probably like maybe it was like real food in the 70s when he started eating it to like heavily processed today.
That's the most heinous part of it is he said that he usually now buys Big Macs in bulk. The article phrased it. He buys Big Macs in bulk twice a week and then eats one of them fresh when he gets it and then reheats the rest later on. That's wrong.
He had to have perfected the art of like the Big Mac reheat, right?
There should be rules against that.
Do you think he like takes off the lettuce?
It's against the law. But
so I figure in $2023, which is the last price we have from the Big Mac index, he has spent an equivalent in $2023 of $190,000 on Big Macs.
Yeah, at least. I was thinking that it's got to be 150,000 plus.
Crazy.
Just crazy numbers. I mean, we talked about it last week. At least it's not in Switzerland, where you're paying like $10 per.
Yeah,
it'd be an expensive hobby.
He said he had 728 Big Macs in 2023, which came out to a little more than $4,000.
He said it was just below his pace of 2 per day. He was a little bit behind pace in 2023, but what a guy! What a guy!
You know, I don't even know what else to say. It's probably a good spot to just end this podcast.
Yeah.
But with that said, parting thoughts.
I don't. Nothing that's good enough to follow that up. It's already been a long episode.
All right. Well, until next week.
See you then.